Hi, I'm Russ Klein, the CEO of the American Marketing Association, and it's my privilege and honor to be here with Dr. Phil Kotler, legend in the field of marketing. Phil, welcome, and thanks for being with us here in your visit to the AMA.
It's a very impressive site, the new building, and I'm impressed with what the AMA is doing to transform.
We're very grateful for your visit. Can you talk to our audience about what it was about Peter Drucker that you would describe him as the grandfather?
Peter said very early in his books that marketing and business itself depends so much on creating customers. That's what it really is about. And a company can't succeed unless it has that capability of creating customers. That was only one tidbit of several observations. For example, he said the aim of marketing is to make selling unnecessary. People were puzzled by that, but it meant that if you introduce a brand new thing that creates a wow, people line up, and therefore there's no need for hard selling. In fact, we don't create enough wows. So in many ways, Peter had aphorisms that was so centered on our idea of marketing.
He was so prescient to make that observation because you could argue that now today more than ever, customers just want that wow experience and don't want to be sold to. They do their own shopping, their own exploration on products and so forth. So are there sons and daughters out there who are carrying the mantle forward in the field that are doing work that you believe is important that our viewers should know about?
Yes, the field has got a number of very interesting and creative marketers, and I'm sticking to the academic marketers who I know, but certainly there are marvelous people running marketing in different companies like Beth Comstock for General Electric and others. So in the academic field, we have to hand over to Jag Sheth the tribute of his generously supporting what we call legends in marketing. He has asked certain people, maybe with the committee's backing, to be legends. And each of them has done a body of work which will go on and on. So I was the first legend. I guess I have 10 volumes, if anyone cares to read them, of my work, my articles and so on. And then several other people come to mind. I think Jerry Zaltman was one, and he's continuing. He was at Harvard and continuing to come up with new insights about metaphors and so on. I think that my faculty itself has some very interesting people. Mohan Sawhney, for example, is really bringing us into the digital age. I don't want to state many more names because I'll be offending some people who should be in the list, and there's such a large number of gifted individuals. I want to make one more clarification. We always say modern marketing, but there's a whole history before my book, 1967, came out called Marketing Management, which did introduce the modern idea, namely that marketing should be based on at least four things: organizational theory, economic theory, mathematical theory, and economics theory. It produced a foundation in the social and behavioral sciences. But frankly, before that, we had wonderful books on marketing starting in the 1900s. First time, the word market is an old word, but the word marketing was new to people in 1905 and so on. And these books are not outdated, really, but they did a lot of work describing what salespeople do, how you evaluate them, how does advertising work, and what the wholesalers and retailers do. But modern marketing itself, which started before the internet, is now going through its own revolution, which is going to be a digital revolution.
That's fascinating, and as you were able to observe, the AMA actually has chronicled its own view of the evolution of marketing. And so as we think about the evolution of marketing and looking forward, last year you wrote a book called Confronting Capitalism, and tell our viewers what the main message was there.
In the sense that marketing and maybe business itself is not working for the many but for the few in a capitalistic system where wages are still relatively low. They can't be called livable wages. The limit used to be $7.45 an hour, which for 7 or more years stayed that way in spite of rising costs. So capitalism has to take to some new ideas that would make a better distribution of the income to the teams that make up the income. So I have the philosophy of shareholders rather than of stakeholders rather than shareholders. Most marketing MBA programs in general, say that the aim should be to make the most profits for the shareholders. The paradox is, if you really want to make more money for the shareholders, you better change your whole view toward the stakeholders. Stakeholders being employees, suppliers, distributors, communities that form together to create products, create value, and compete against each other. And to that extent, capitalism is now moving toward a reformation. One example of that is a whole movement called conscious capitalism, which addresses much more the social aspects. And I got into writing the book Capitalism to offer viewpoints that would improve the performance of capitalism for more people. That was followed by my next book called The Democracy in Decline, because capitalism has spilled over into democracy, and so much of our Congress is run by money rather than by voters.
That is an epic overview of the role that marketing can play in society. Do you have any thoughts about what the AMA can and should be doing as a change agent against the vision of democratizing quality of life, prospering economies and communities around the world?
Recently, the company called Unilever said something that is relevant to answering your question. And they said that the brands that will count are those that are coming from higher purpose and what we call brand activism. So your brand should not just be there as a name for me to identify what I'm getting and so on. What are you doing as a brand to make the world a better place? And that's called brand activism. And we know from Unilever's experience with what they did with their advertising about women. They're beautiful regardless of how they physically may come across and so on. And so many of their products are now... Unilever found out that those products that had higher purpose and dynamism were performing at 30% or more better than the brands that had no particular vision or higher purpose.
So, Dr. Phil Kotler, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us and being our guest here at the American Marketing Association today. Thanks very much.
Russ, thanks for inviting. Beautiful facilities.
I'm Russ Klein with the American Marketing Association.